This is Destiny Global TV, and this is the 9th of July 2020, and we're outside Handsworth College in Birmingham. We'll be carrying on from speaking about Black Lives Matters, and we'll be covering various different topics, i.e. the vaccine, the black economy, Windrush. We'll be speaking to quite a few people on these topics. This is Norma Jean Banton. Norma, could you tell us what you do and things like that?
Yes, of course. So, as Robert said, I'm Norma Jean Banton. I'm a jewellery designer. I'm based in the Jewellery Quarter, which is not far from here. And I make silver and gold jewellery. I do wedding rings, engagement rings.
Last week we were doing Black Lives, and we wanted to move on a little bit because Black Lives now, it seems like the hysteria has died down.
Yeah.
And we still want to keep up that momentum. How do you think we go about doing that, keeping that hysteria going?
Well, I think for all of us, what we need to do as individuals is always be ready to challenge racism, to stand up and to speak up and to write to our MPs. That's really important, that people, we can all take action, we can all vote, we can all write to our MPs, and we can speak out against racism.
You mentioned about voting. I mean, Beyonce was in the news just recently talking about voting in the US, so black people can come out and vote. Do you see, obviously, the same thing could happen in England. Do you think a lot of black people don't come out and vote?
I think so. I think we do need to use our right to vote, and we need to use our right to vote a lot more. We need to get out and vote. We need to write to our MPs. And Marcus Garvey was very famous. We mentioned him a little bit earlier, and he talked about 3 areas where black people need to be more active. The first area is spirituality, remembering our faith, that we are children of God, we're children of the Most High. Remembering our faith, he was a Christian, he was a very spiritual man, but he also said we need to get involved in economics and politics. So the 3 areas that Marcus Garvey espoused are spirituality, politics and economics.
You mentioned those 3 areas, and it seems like economic, it seemed to be the one that we're lacking in. Because if we had economic power, like the Asian, the Polish, or whoever, even the Chinese who come here, we never seem to have that sort of power at all, even from Marcus Garvey time. That is a very important thing, economic power. How do we go about achieving that?
Well, I think one of the problems we have as Caribbean people in the UK, obviously if you're in Africa, I've been to Africa, to Nigeria twice, because I do jewellery workshops for disadvantaged people around the world. I've done workshops in the Caribbean. But obviously black people have been or certainly Caribbean people have been in this country for around 70 years, starting with the Windrush, where most people came over about 70 years ago. So there is a history of economic disempowerment of black people because, our parents were the first generation here. They weren't born here. I was born here, but most of our parents didn't have properties. Some did, but many didn't. So, like your white friends, for example, they may inherit property, which gets them on the property ladder. Many black people didn't have that.
So we were at a disadvantage.
We've been economically disadvantaged through. Also, it's been difficult for black people to get loans, to get mortgages because of institutionalised racism. Now, some of us have worked amazingly hard and done amazingly well, but I think, for a lot of people, it's still very hard. And don't forget, the other problem we have as Caribbeans is the colonialist education. The African people in the UK are doing incredibly well. Nigerians, for example, are known to have the most degrees in the world, and they're certainly very, very successful in owning lots of property in London. One of the reasons for that is because they do stick together. They don't intermarry as much as the Caribbeans. In fact, the Caribbean people are the fastest disappearing group in the UK. Did you know that?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, and that's mainly to do with intermarriage. Nothing wrong with that. We all get to choose our partners. But another reason for the economic problems that we have is the miseducation of the Caribbean people.
I think education plays a vital part.
Yes, it does.
Mhm. Maybe if we go back to to educating our children about the history and then coming back from that angle, is that a way forward?
It is. I mean, one of the problems is, so we're victims of a colonialist education. That means that in schools they taught white supremacy. They told us that white was right. They told us that, they made us hate ourselves.
Jesus Christ is white.
Yeah, and there was always a divide and rule. So this thing about, for example, in the Caribbean, the ruling classes were the sons and daughters of the slave masters. So there was always this colorism problem where the whites and the light-skinned people were given more privileges because they were the children or the descendants of the slave masters.
Still going on as well.
And that's still going on. So this is a real problem. So we need to decolonize our minds. We need to just re-educate ourselves, and we need to learn to love ourselves, to love each other, and to support each other. We need to buy black. We need to support each other. We need to get rid of the divide and rule mentality that was instilled in us by colonialists. And we need to recognise that it's a problem. We need to decolonise our minds. For example, I've just changed my name.
Yeah, you were saying it.
I've gone back to my dad's name, which is actually Banton. And the name Banton, it's actually an African word, and it's a title that was given to singer-songwriters. So we may have heard of famous Bantons like Pato Banton and Buju Banton, and they adopt the name as a pseudonym, but actually my dad was a Banton from a long line of singers and songwriters. Yeah, and because for me, I am a storyteller, I am a natural-born Banton, because I tell stories through my jewellery.
Right.
So the name Banton, it actually reminds me of who I am and what I'm here to do, which is to share my stories through my jewellery designs.
So you see, you've spoken about education and the way we could improve the black economy. For the Black Lives, I mean, you know what happened with George Floyd.
Yeah.
I mean, how would you say, because we're going back to the history, to keep up the momentum of that still in Birmingham here, because you hardly hear anybody talking about it, anything now, even the media and the news. It's a very thing that's just been swept under the carpet.
Well, I think what we need to do is we need to always be ready to speak out against racism where we find it here in the UK. We still face institutionalised racism in education. We're stood here outside Handsworth College. These colleges are known for not promoting black people, not paying us proper wages. And the colonisation is seen, the head is often, usually white. And it's very, very hard for black people to get the promotions that they deserve in these institutions. So we need to be speaking out against institutionalised racism. We need to be complaining to our MPs. It's still happening in the police force.
Yes, it is.
And it happens in many, many areas of society. And also we need to be investing in the next generation. So one of the things that I'm doing is I'm starting a decolonised, culturally relevant jewellery academy for black youth in the Jewellery Quarter, which is just down the road from here where I work. And that is so we can train up the next generation of black jewellers. And we can educate them to the fact that most of the gold and the gemstones that you find, for example, in the Queen's collection and in her crown, it all comes from Africa. So they've stolen our culture, they've stolen our resources, and it's time for us to take it back. So this is why I'm investing in a specialist jewellery academy to teach black youth. And again, if anyone's interested in that, they can give me a call.
What do you think about the statues they're taking down the statue? Do you see that as something that should happen internationally, worldwide, all over the Caribbean, taking all the statue colonialism that you say?
Absolutely. I think we have to recognise that England, People talk about Hitler in Germany, and they talk about how evil he was because he killed 6 million Jews. But do you know how many black Africans England and Europe killed in Africa? Countless hundreds of millions. Millions more than Hitler killed, but nobody can give a definite number. Hundreds and hundreds of millions of Africans died in the slave trade at the hands of British and European slavers and colonialists. So if Black lives really matter, we need to start counting those millions. 6 million Jews died by the hand of Hitler, and everybody speaks out against that. Oh, that was evil. Yeah. But there's been no reparation given to Africans and Caribbean people. It was mass genocide. It was probably the evilest thing that has ever happened in the history of the world. I think we need investment. We need our own decolonised universities so that we can educate the next generation. We need economic empowerment. We need, they took our lands, they took Africa, they colonised the Caribbean, they colonised Africa, they took our gold. We need it back. You know, in the Bible it says if somebody steals something, they need to pay it back 7 times. So we want back our gold, we want back our diamonds, we want reparation, and we need land. They took our land, they need to be giving us land here. They need to be giving us buildings and houses and institutions, because the truth is what they stole from us, you know, they can never really repay. They can never really repay it, but they need to start somewhere.
Should we be addressing the Queen as well? Because the Queen has a lot to do with this. I mean, I know it's a subject that a lot of people don't want to approach.
Well, I think what needs to happen is Buckingham Palace, she needs to give it to the black people. We should all live there. It belongs to us. It was built on slavery. All of those buildings, they need to give them back to the black community. And she needs to give back those diamonds in her crown. She needs to give back the gold in her carriage. It belongs to me. It belongs to my children.
As a matter of fact, do you know how many rooms there is in Buckingham Palace?
So you can get a lot of homeless black people in there.
I was doing a research on it. I was amazed.
Yeah.
155 bedrooms.
Well, there you are. And she can't sleep in all of them. So it needs to be given back to the people that, you know, have been most disadvantaged through slavery and colonisation, and that is the Caribbean people. So yes, it's time for us to speak up against racism and say, actually, Black lives do matter, and Black lives matter today, and Black lives matter historically. And therefore we need to start counting the bodies that were killed in the African genocide. That was slavery. It wasn't a trade. People call it the slave trade. It wasn't a trade. It was an evil, probably a evil, barbaric thing. And there does need to be recognition that millions, countless hundreds of millions of Africans died. Those bodies have never been counted. You know, if Black lives matter, then Black lives matter as much as Jewish lives. So, for example, we know that 6 million Jews died in the Holocaust, but we also know that Hitler killed many black people. Those black people, they were never counted. Why?
Insignificant.
Why? Why? If Black lives matter today, then Black lives matter historically. So we need to start counting the Black lives, counting the people who died in slavery and in colonisation, and we need reparation. And the reason they don't want to apologise is because they feel, oh well, if we apologise,
Well,
then
they
we
did.
need to pay.
There has been some of them will come out.
Empty
and
words.
Empty words. Yes.
Without reparation, it means nothing. So they need to be investing in the next generation of Caribbean people. I think what they're really trying to do is to assimilate us. So because they've taught through the colonialist miseducation of black people, they've taught black people to hate themselves and to hate each other. And therefore you have the highest number of intermarriage amongst any group of people in the UK. For example, 58% of Caribbean men are in mixed relationships, and apparently 38% of women. So within 2 generations, we would cease to exist at that rate. Our grandchildren wouldn't be recognisable. They'll have blonde hair and blue eyes. So there's nothing wrong with that. We all get to choose our partners, and I think love is transcendent. I believe in love. But I think, as I say, we need to learn to love ourselves again. We need to learn to love each other. We need to be supporting each other economically. We need to buy black, and we need to support each other. And you need to go on my website, www.silverfishjewelry.co.uk, and check out my range of jewellery.
We're in Little Jamaica at the top of Handsworth, and we've got Mr. Garnett, and we're just going to ask Mr. Garnett a few questions on how the black community has supported him whilst he was here. Mr. Garnett, nice seeing you again. Could you tell us, Mr. Garnett, how you've been getting on with your patrons?
Yes, as I said, the black community really supporting the shop. And I give God thanks for them, because them kind of realize that if they don't support us, we cannot get nowhere. You get what I mean? Because, to be honest, we've been supporting the Indian shop for many years.
A long time.
Right? Now is the time for we to support one another. Really, we don't have much Indian people coming to the shop, right? Just 1 and 2, right? But we have thousands and hundreds of our people supporting their shop, right? They need to support us as well.
Yes, they do.
Because we call it payback time.
Yes, it is.
Right? So they must pay us back as well, because we've been supporting them for many years. Yes. So they need to support us as well.
How do you feel that we as black people should address this this issue now of Windrush, especially with Black Lives Matters is in the
You
public?
know, I'm going to say something here, because even what takes place in America, right? We've been pushed too much. We've been stepped on too much. And it's time, I'm not saying violence, because I'm not a violent person, right? But don't step on me too much. Couple months back, well, when I say couple months back, couple of years ago, a guy, I sell breadfruit and thing.
Yes.
A guy take up there was a football match, and one of them fans take up a breadfruit and kick it across the road, right? There was 2 police walking up here. I call the police and attention to what take place. And instead of that policeman, that guy was walking up there, instead of the policeman go and hold, the man come harassing me. And all I do, then another lady, police lady coming up, and I explained to her, and all she could say, take no notice of him, take no notice of him.
And you're the one who's been injured, and you're the one who
my product being thrown across kick across the road.
But yet if it was on the other foot,
Exactly.
you'd be one
Exactly.
arrested straight away.
Exactly. Exactly. So things like that, it's really annoying to see what's going on in this country. You know, things need to put right. Everybody need to live. Everybody need to have a decent life. This government, what they're putting in power, are what we are putting in power. I don't know what's wrong with them. They need their head tested. Because them not treating black people right. And I can't see anything change at the moment anyway.
So with all this hysteria, what's going on with what has happened to George Floyd, do you think it will just die down and nothing will take
Exactly, right? A few riots and that's it. It just go away, because it's not the first time, it's not the second time, it's not the third time. It's been happening constantly, and there's nothing done about it. I tell you something, brother. We was even talking about it this morning. When I was going to school, right? You have Prince Charles picture put up in the classroom. You have the Queen picture put up in the classroom. All it was,
In
they was,
Jamaica.
yeah, they was teaching you dickory dock, the clock run round this and mouse run round clock and all them stupidness, right? You get what I'm saying, right? Right? They did not teach us our history. We don't know what even a black man invent. We don't know nothing.
Very true.
Because they did not teach we all these things what a black man do. Since I come to England, I know that a black man invent the traffic light.
Yes.
All these things they hide
Science
from
behind
us. They hide it from us. So more or less they try to keep us down all the time for a change.
So the education would be good if they try to educate the children in their black history.
Exactly. Exactly.
A way forward.
Exactly.
And do you think that, what about reparation? Do you think they should give now fund from the slavery all the money to the Caribbean?
They need to do it and do it quick too. They need to do it.
There's no way out now.
There's no way out. They need to do it. Because they take us as a fool. They need to change their ways because this is getting serious. And it's going to explode if they don't sort it out. They need to sort out because black people need to look at black people as somebody. Don't look upon we as we are lower than them.
But God made everybody.
God make everybody equal. Stop it and get things right. That's what I'm saying to the Prime Minister now.
So you're appealing to the government and everyone.
Stop,
Look.
get things right now. Make a change.
Yes.
Because if they don't make a change gonna come.
So they could start with Really Rush. They could start paying the people
That
for what
that's
they-
that's a start.
Yes, a start, and then moving on to reparations, and then letting our younger black children know their history.
Exactly.
And be educated.
Exactly. And then we all will live in peace.
So black lives does matter.
It does matter.
Yeah, it does.
When I tell you say it matter because I love life and it does matter to me. So get it right. When name the one when the power?
Boris Johnson.
Boris Johnson.
Yeah.
Tell him to get it right for me.
Like that.
Put things good. You know?
It's a-
Right now. I don't even see them really doing anything for black business more than so.
Yes. What do you think? That's a good point that you made. What do you think they should do for black business? Because we're at the stage now where Black Lives Matter. So
Yeah.
put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah.
Put your money
Yeah,
where your
yeah.
mouth is.
Yeah. Let more black people have business and run business. Because we can run business. It's not just for an Indian man or a Chinese man or a white man. We can run business as well.
We just need a balanced playing field.
Exactly. Get things right. Margaret Thatcher,
Yeah.
right? When these guys get kicked out of Uganda,
Yes.
she give them a kickstart when they come here, you know.
They did.
She give them a kickstart. What kickstart did she give a black man?
That's a very good point.
Right? Just a little point. No. England was controlling Jamaica.
On
Right?
Caribbean.
Well, no, you're talking about Jamaica
Yeah,
at the moment. Jamaica, right? A lot of people leave Jamaica before even Jamaica get independent. And they come here, right? Work, right? Next thing you want to throw them out? And they come here as a British citizen. Because British was running Jamaica.
And they still hasn't got a British citizenship.
And they still haven't got it. They want to get it right, Prime Minister.
Mr. Boris Johnson.
Well, whatever, Boris, get it right. God bless you, sir.
Thank you very much.